is the playthrough. I am here with Dr. J. Again, thank you for doing the rules. Always appreciate that.
No problem.
And then we have the KO King. Russ, how are you doing tonight?
Good, how are you?
All right, so guys, tonight we are out to save the universe from Thanos and his dastardly plans. We're talking about Thanos Rising, and if you guys have not yet seen Jared's explanation of the rules, just check on over to the link. I'll put it somewhere here. And if you're listening on audio, you've already heard it. So first, initial impressions on Thanos Rising. This was made by USAopoly, which when I first heard about it, I was a little...
No, I totally went into this not expecting very much at all. I was kind of expecting like just an IP grab game that was trying to capitalize on what you knew was going to be a massive movie. And I was actually very impressed with how it came out. It feels like a game that was made by a game company, not a movie company that's just trying to make a quick buck.
Yeah. I like the mechanics of it because I was a little, actually, when I first saw the cards and stuff, were you about this too when I saw they were more pictures, like screen grabs, you know, grabbing the characters out of the things? I was a little bit...
Originally, I was worried about the components, the way it looked. I thought it looked really cheesy, but it's not bad.
I think that kind of tended to influence why I thought it was an IP cash grab too, because you look at the cards and you're like, oh man, is that a straight up screen grab from?
Yeah,
and it might be a straight up screen grab from the movie, and so it kind of made it look like it wasn't very good. But I actually like it. It kind of grows on you the more you play it. At least for me, it did.
Yeah, I actually like the cards now.
Yeah,
quite a bit.
Yeah, after playing it, and the only gripe I really actually have about this game, and you guys can't tell if you're watching the video version, was the stock Thanos that was unpainted. That was the only thing that I was like, this looks a little weird.
Yeah, it did look kind of funny. Like he was a lighter purple, and the rocks looked kind of like pancakes a little bit. It looked a little funky, and Russ dolled this one up, so it looks a lot more like the movie, I think.
Yeah. But like overall, after playing it and like seeing all the different mechanics about that was really my only gripe. And it's really a minor gripe because I think this is one of the first games USAopoly is kind of going a little bit more in depth in terms of gameplay than just doing another Monopoly reskin. So
yeah, I almost wish that they weren't called USAopoly because it just screams Monopoly, which is not a good game. Like as far as games go, it's not a good game. But this is actually a good, fun game, I think.
So the first time I learned this game, it screamed Elder Sign to me, and I still think that it's really similar to Elder Sign. The, taking dice, rolling, placing, themes different. But if you like Elder Sign, you'll like this game.
Yeah, the one part about that I like a little bit different from Elder Sign is with Thanos moving around, it feels like the game is hitting back a lot more than Elder Sign does. Where Elder Sign's like, oh, I missed the roll, right? You didn't really feel the repercussions on this. This one, you're taking risks since Thanos is moving around the board. He could be damaging you or could be damaging another card that somebody else on your team wants to get, right?
Yeah, another thing that I really liked about this game, too, is I'm a pretty big comic book fan. I'm not necessarily reading comic books, but I love the movies and stuff, I like Marvel, and this pulled me in a lot more because you really feel like it's you against Thanos and against Thanos' minions. And when you're playing and one of your favorite characters ends up getting knocked out by Thanos, you're just like, ugh. I wanted him.
Yeah, I don't know how this works, so we're not going to give you any spoilers on Infinity War, but on multiple playthroughs that we went through, something would happen and we're like, holy crap,
That's like what happened in the movie.
Yeah. And I don't know if it was by design or maybe that's what went into their decisions on what characters to pick. Because when we were going through, it was like that's interesting that they have this character here and this character here. And speaking of the characters, it's kind of interesting to see who they picked as your starting characters, right? So you have Captain America, Black Panther, Doctor Strange, and Gamora for your different factions. So you have Captain America as your melee. Black Panther's your tech, Mystic is for Doctor Strange, and
Gamora's the cosmic one. Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting that they didn't, other than Captain America, these guys aren't really your normal A-team Avengers, right?
I know. Starting. It's supposed to be like Iron Man and Black Widow, and it's kind of weird.
Gamora's the best. She's the one you want to play with.
Yeah. Okay. Let's get into this because it is a co-op game. And it's always interesting when we play co-op games, right? Because this group we love to smash each other in the face, right? And do all those things. Do all those things. So, but like I enjoyed playing this co-op game. It's not super heavy into strategy, so it leans a little bit more of kind of like a just hang out game.
Yeah,
where we're talking about different things while we're playing.
It is difficult. I didn't know if the play would be difficult. USAopoly, although I will say the other game that I really love of theirs, Harry Potter, is a great cooperative game too. So they really got a little niche there. I've played it a number of times. I looked at my Board Game Geek stats. I win about 68% of the time, 63% of the time. So there's that component to it, but it's pretty balanced, I will say, because I've had games that went really long, where the villains didn't come out of the deck.
Yeah, and where you went and tried to get every single Guardian of the Galaxy.
Yeah, that happened, and that was really frustrating playing with Russ. When you play co-op games, you have to play together as a team, and we're sitting there. Every time you get a character, like this deck is full of heroes and villains, and Russ would just keep going and trying to collect all the Guardians because he's Gamora and he got like 2 of them fast. So he's like, no, and Drax would come out and he's like, no, I have to go get Drax.
I gotta go get Mantis.
We're gonna die, and he's like, but I need Drax. I need Star-Lord.
I got kind of in that Dice Masters build mindset. If you're familiar with how I play Dice Masters with. Like combos.
I need the synergies.
I was totally worried about combos
synergies.
and not winning.
Yeah, like we were sitting there. I'm like, Russ, we just need to kill one more villain. Why don't you go kill a villain instead and just end the game? I'm like, no, I gotta go get Mantis. She just came out.
We were fine.
I think that's one of the hardest things about this game too, is to balance when you should go attack villains and when you should be recruiting heroes. Because if you think to yourself, I gotta recruit heroes early so then I can attack the villains, it might get out of control on you, and the villains might end up, overwhelming you. And the thing is, like, this game is really heavy chance, just like any co-op game really is, because you don't know where the villains are in this deck. So if they come out faster, if they're shuffled up towards the top, then you're going to have a harder time. If they're shuffled towards the bottom, then you're going to get lots of heroes early on, and then you'll be able to handle them when they do come out.
Or just getting the wrong combination of villains, too. Because I remember one where there was only like 2 or 3 villains out on the whole entire board, but part of the rules is if you roll the Thanos die, right, and it gets Infinity Gauntlet, all the villains trigger their abilities.
As if Thanos were in their sector, So all the villains on the board do their thing. And if you roll that a couple of times and there's a bunch of villains out, it hurts.
Yeah, especially like when it's like active hero has to take like 2 damage to their characters and stuff. That adds up, even with 1 or 2.
It's all about getting extra dice, making sure that there's some kind of regeneration or healing within the team, like not necessarily on my team, but someone that we're playing with. You have that healing possibility, like that's Groot or something.
That's what I liked about it too, is because the healing wasn't just for a single player. Because I know there's a lot of games like that where if you don't get healing, you could hurt yourself, even though like 3 of your other teammates could technically help you out if the rules allowed it.
Yeah, you have to be careful too, because some of the heroes don't have a lot of hit boxes or whatever. Like Shuri's only got 4. I think there's some that does there's something with 3. I think Friday or someone only has 3 boxes.
A couple
or
of these
something
don't
like
have
that.
3.
I don't know. Friday was that one that Kevin could never roll.
I've come to realize
Kevin and Black Panther aren't allowed to be a pair.
Well, no, it's like any game we play that involves us rolling dice. Apparently, I like playing them. I don't know why, because I can't roll crap in any of these games that involve rolling.
It's pretty funny. I've never actually played a game where in the match Thanos got one of the Infinity Stones. Have you played games where he's actually gotten them?
I played where he had like 2 or 3.
Yeah,
oh, really?
And they start snowballing too. Like once you get those, once they start flipping over, like the abilities help him get other stones, and it gets bad.
You really need to actually make sure that you're either damaging villains so you can get tokens, or Black Widow. I've learned that Black Widow is pretty powerful. She allows you to get these little bonus tokens, and these bonus tokens are a big part of the game.
Yeah, I love these bonus tokens, because sometimes you're like, man, I just wish I had that one extra thing, or when we're like trying to figure out how to do this, and then you realize one of your teammates, because your teammates can use them to help you too.
Yeah.
Where you're like, oh wait, but I have this, and and it's like I got this too. We totally got this villain down this turn. And like that's one thing I really like. The co-op, the team.
Yeah,
if
you're trying
really
to
great.
do it all by yourself, it's not going to work. If you're not using tokens to help each other, if you're playing like Zach would, where he's going to hoard the tokens so he can
You're
use
playing
them
like
himself.
Russ, where you don't help at all.
Hey, I was getting a good team so that I could get more dice.
We were dying, man, and you were like, "Oh man,
we die,
I gotta
Jared?
get Star-Lord." I don't remember. We might have actually
we
lost
got
that
pretty close.
game.
I think we might have lost.
We might have actually lost it. You don't even remember if we won or lost that
I
game.
can go back.
You've
and
done
check
it like
my
3
stats.
games in a row too, where you've done that. It's like that's why you're not allowed to play Gamora anymore because you don't do it with the other characters. You're not like,
She's
"Oh, Black
awesome.
Panther, I got to get all the Black
Guardians
Panther characters."
teams all work so good together. Drax is so good because he gives you an extra dice if you're where villains are. So you just go to sectors where villains are, you roll extra dice, and then you deal damage to the villains and get the bonus. Man, that really starts rolling.
Yeah, that's the other thing I wanted to ask you about. How do you guys feel about these card synergies? Because I think these are planned very well in terms of card synergies.
They feel pretty thematic too. Like I don't know if that's accidental or just because of the way that the movies kind of make the characters, but they do work pretty well together. Like Black Panther works well with Shuri, and I think he works well with Okoye, and she's in the deck somewhere.
Yeah, and I like how they don't limit it to just the themes. Like for Captain America, if you have another red hero, so it doesn't have to be like Bucky or anybody.
Yeah, exactly. But it does work with Bucky.
It does work with it. You get to roll an extra die. And that's what I liked about it is so you could go for the theme, but say you got dealt a not good hand, you still can make it work without trying to find specific characters.
Yeah, exactly.
So the other thing I wanted to ask, because I wanted to introduce this, because I know you are our rules guy.
Yeah.
How, like, in terms of the rule book, what would you rate it as?
I think I'd rate it somewhere in the middle.
What's your spectrum? So, like, what's the worst rule book you've ever seen?
Spectrum
In
1
kind
to
of
1,000.
The worst rule book I've ever seen. It's hard to say. Something like Russ's game, Galactic Strike Force, or something a little more streamlined, like Dragonfire has a terrible rule book. And the reason for this is when I look at rule books, I like to see them organized with different like subtitles or whatever, so you can easily reference them. I like to see a table of contents.
Yeah, this one has an index, right?
Yeah, I think it does. And it's a very short rule book, but it's not organized super well. And so if you're looking for a specific rule on like the Infinity Stone dice or something, there's a little bit here, there's a little bit there, and then there's a little bit at the end. So I don't like that. I wish all the information about the Infinity Stone dice and the Thanos dice were kind of together like that. There's just a couple of things like that. It's organization mostly. Other than that, the rules are very clear, and it should be a fairly simple game to learn out of the rule book just because it's not very long.
So it's worth going to take a look at that, right?
Absolutely.
There's not a lot of stuff you need to go back and reference, though, in this specific game. I agree with your rule books. Not a lot of in this specific game. I know with like Elder Sign, there's more, and that rule book becomes really frustrating because I'm always going back and forth, and I can't remember where stuff is.
Co-op games, more than any other game out there, needs a solid index or reference so you know where to go to find the answer you're looking for. Because co-op games, I think you reference the rule book more than just about any other kind of game there is. So I do like the rule book, but it's not the best.
Yeah, it's worth to take a look at. And then I wanted to ask you guys, so the one thing about these starting the like Avengers compounds, like, did you guys ever use the team abilities?
It's probably the one thing I don't like.
Never.
Like
because it's really hard to get.
Yeah, like for mine is if you roll 6 melees or the punches or more on your opening roll, add 1 damage to the villain. So like that's actually hard to do because, sure, if you have a bunch of the red ones and you all land on the 2 burst sides, but there's only one of them on the die face or 2 of them on the die face.
I think I've triggered it once.
So Captain America's I think makes more sense because he gets 4 red dice. Black Panther's is if you roll 4 or more text symbols on an opening roll, remove 2 damage from a hero, but he has 3 red dice and 1 blue
dice.
And there's only 1 text symbol on each of these dice. So in order to make that work, you have to go and have to get more blue dice in order to trigger that. and it feels like it's just too hard to do. Like you're like Captain America's already set up and ready to go. Black Panther, and I think it's there so that it gives you some direction on how to build your team. Go get some blue characters, go get some tech characters, and it'll be better. But I feel like it was kind of like a last minute add-on that doesn't jive well.
Doesn't
with the
work
game
that well. I mean,
well.
I remember playing Black Panther, never got him to trigger. I played Doctor Strange. I think I got it to trigger once in all my playthroughs. So
it's not really needed. It's a benefit. That's why I like using the bonus tokens, which there's bonus tokens that do that same ability, remove a counter from the Infinity Stone. Oh, I didn't realize that all of them weren't like Gamora. I thought they were all the same as Gamora.
No, they're all
She's
different.
the only one that matters. So she removes an Infinity Stone. So
no, Doctor Strange, you draw a bonus token, and Black Panther, you remove damage from heroes. I think the biggest thing was I never paid attention. I never looked I might have actually done this several times and not noticed because I just didn't remember to look for it. I don't particularly care for that part of it, but it doesn't take away anything from the game that they're in it. I feel like the game's just as fun and just as playable if you ignore them.
Yeah, how do you like about where Thanos is attacking? So, I mean, this is something I struggle with a lot of these games is sacrificing characters, and like part of me always I want to save them all.
Co-op game, man, you have to sacrifice. Yeah, I like the way that the board is set up, the Thanos board, because it doesn't matter where you put your token. There's a chance Thanos is going to attack you, and so if you have characters in front of you who are almost dead, there's no strategic way to pick where you put it other than try to avoid some villains or something, because Thanos, there's a chance that he's going to get to you. Either he rolls the stone or the gauntlet and he stays there, or he rolls the left or the right and he attacks you anyway. And almost every time I'd try to make it so, I'm going to go here because it's less likely that Thanos is going to hit me.
Nope.
He'd always turn my way.
It's the same as all co-ops, though.
If
you're spending all your time to making sure that that your heroes aren't dying in this game specifically, if you're focused on the heroes, making sure they're not dying, you're never advancing toward your goal.
Yeah.
All you're doing is stopping damage and trying to heal. So you have to make a concerted effort to stay focused, and unless you're trying to save a Guardian to put on your Gamora team, then it's going to have to go.
That's one of the things I feel like this game does a little bit better than a game like Elder Sign 2 is we all know these characters. We're all emotionally attached to a handful of them. And it's like, oh, I really want to go save that character. And it makes you make that tough decision, the Mission Impossible decision. Do I save the person or does half the universe get killed? And it's hard.
Yeah, I'll Peter Parker it.
You'll Peter Parker it.
I love how the guy who's wearing the Guardians shirt right now is not the one who's gushing over the Guardians. It's the guy who's wearing a DC shirt instead.
It is what it is.
And then, so Russ, I wanted to ask you, because the nice thing about our play group is, we have diverse things. And for you, your family is not that big into board gaming, even though you try to entice them.
I can get them to play once or twice a week.
But you can't
specifically.
Yeah, but you can't pull out like TI4 and then go with that. How did they take reception-wise to this?
So I've got my kids will play this. They've sat down and played. And then other family members, I got them to play. They were hesitant at first, and then they ended up quite a bit liking it. So I think this is kind of that gateway game. It says 10 plus. I actually think it can play a little younger.
Yeah, especially with these symbols that are like, they're pretty clear what they are.
Yeah, and it's even co-op on the cards, game, so you should. I don't know. I think I run into that borderline of being an alpha gamer sometimes when we play co-op games where I'm trying to make decisions for everyone.
Oh, imagine Russ being an alpha gamer in our group, man.
This game kind of leans towards that. There's not a lot in the game to stop it.
But if you're having kids play, you don't have to necessarily make their decisions for them, but they're really just rolling dice and placing it, and they're doing it with, if they've watched the movies and stuff. So this is a great game for that. And it's pretty thematic. You can tell them, you're trying to build a Avengers team.
Yeah, no, I feel like this is very much a family game, a game that younger kids could easily play. It's a good way to get people who aren't familiar with co-op games into co-op gaming if you really like that. So I feel like this hits a lot of really sweet spots in the gaming world.
Uh-huh.
It's, it's not perfect. There's some flaws.
For sure.
For our gaming group, if I'm playing with family, this is awesome. It hits right at that. You don't win every time, and some people have ran into problems where it's harder. If you're playing with 2 people, I think it becomes a lot more difficult.
Do you think it plays best with 4, or does it?
I haven't. The number of players for me in this game hasn't really swayed me. Like I like the way it plays with any number. But for some co-op games, I like it more difficult. I'm at that 1 out of 4 range is what I really like if I'm playing a hard strategic game. Like you win 1 out of 4 times. This is more out of that 2 or 3 out of 4 wins. Uh-huh. So I would take this as a lighter co-op. There's strategy, but it's not like a brain burner.
I feel like if you play with more people, it would naturally get a little harder because, like, if by the time the 4th person's gone, there's already 4 counters out on the Infinity Stones. Where if you're playing with 2 people, you could already have 2 heroes apiece, and then there's 4 out there. And so, I think it would naturally get harder with more people. But it's a pretty actually balanced game, and it almost feels like it was accidentally balanced a little bit.
Like snowball's pretty good.
Yeah.
Where you're like, oh my gosh, we're gonna be in trouble.
Yeah. There's always a point in a co-op game where you feel like I'm in control and I'm not in control anymore. Like it's almost like an instant you realize, oh my gosh, I lost complete control of this game and we're gonna die. And that's what part of what makes me like co-op games, and I feel like we hit that a couple of times with this game.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you guys too, because normally when you start, it tells you what character to start out with. I don't know if it's in the rule book or not, but I thought about it. What if we did a variant where you pick a hero just of the same color to match, but not necessarily Captain America, Black Panther, or something like? What do you guys think it would work? Or
I absolutely think it would work. I feel like. Because I thought that same thing. I was like, I think I was playing as Black Panther, and I was like, but I don't want to play as Black Panther. I want to play as someone else, and I want to play as Iron Man or something.
I don't know if it would work as well, because every starting character has that basic same ability for you to get extra dice. And if you don't get extra dice, you kind of are stuck with that 4.
It would just be a way to alter the difficulty of the game, I think. Yeah. Which I think... it wouldn't hurt the game at all. It wouldn't change the game enough that it would make it unplayable.
It depends. If you couldn't get one of these starting heroes later, or someone like Drax that gives extra dice for certain things, or I think Bucky does too. If you can't get extra dice, then I think you would be sitting ducks.
Yeah, but lots of the characters give you that. Or, like Vision, he gets you, once per turn, you may change a mystic face to a tech face.
But you only
that
still
ability
would
be
the
pretty
4.
good.
I mean, you wouldn't want to like start out with some of like the ships that do the damage.
Right. You don't want to start out with those.
But like
you could play to whatever your character's strength is. For sure.
Yeah, like I'd be interested to kind of try that variant. I wanted to ask you what's your kind of like favorite go-to? Russ, you're last, but Jared, what's one of like your favorite characters that shows up in this deck?
Oh, jeez. I like War Machine. He's one of my favorite characters.
Yes, because what does he do on his? I got to look for him, but like I know the one that I like is the Hulk.
Oh,
because he for every 2 damage that's on the Hulk, he does.
Yeah, he gets stronger the more damage.
Yeah, he does he gets like +1 damage to the villain when he plays. So
I remember thinking
that
was going to be really hard to get, and I think he's one of not easy characters, but he's not as hard as some of the other ones. The mystic symbols,
because he takes 7
and
punches.
The tech to me seem like they never come up when I roll.
Yeah, he takes 7 punches, and it's for every 2 damage on Hulk, roll an extra red die each turn.
I remember one time I got the Hulk, and I was doing that thing where I was trying to get Thanos to deal damage to my characters so that he'd get stronger, and every time I'd be like, I'm going to go where Thanos is, and he'd turn, or he'd go the other way. I could not, when I wanted to, I'm like, come on, hit me, man. And he never would.
Yeah, so War Machine is if you have a red hero on your team, roll an extra red die each turn.
Yeah,
So,
you could easily have that as a starting character. That's almost exactly what some of these characters do.
Yeah. All right, Russ, what's yours? And I hope it's not a Guardians character.
Well, so I will say that I love the Collector as a character, but his card in this game actually really bothers me. I don't know why.
He is the weirdest card in the
once
game.
per turn, you may change a cosmic or a mystic to any face.
He's blacked out.
He's mysterious.
But
we all know what his face looks like. That's kind of what bothers me. It's like, it's not a character that hasn't shown up in the movies and we don't know what his face looks like.
Yeah.
We totally know.
So Drax with Gamora, because
I said one
the extra die.
favorite character.
But the one that I've started to love the last few games is Black Widow. And she doesn't necessarily work with any specific team, but you can use a 2 burst and you get
remove a damage from a hero.
Remove a damage and get tokens.
Yeah, that's pretty.
So it's super powerful,
and she's not that hard to get. She's only four melees.
Yeah, she's pretty easy.
She's super powerful. Use her right and keep getting tokens. Man, she is brutal and really helps a full team work together.
Yep. All right. So as we wrap up, what are your last thoughts on this game, and would you play it again?
Yeah, I plan on playing it a bunch. And I think they could reskin this with a bunch of stuff. I think we talked about this, Jared. Like, you could do other teams. I mean, it wouldn't be Thanos, but you could put something else powerful out there.
Maybe even room for expansions to get more of your favorite characters in, because I mean, the Marvel universe is pretty big.
Expansion would be fun.
I want to
like to see some Defenders.
I want to see Spider-Man in here.
Put some.
I want to see Cloak and Dagger.
X-Men in there, because that works, right?
Yeah, man. Yeah. Some symbiotes. That'd be awesome.
Venomize everything.
So I like the game. I think it's a fun little co-op game. I personally like games with more depth to them. So I would definitely recommend the game to anybody who wants to play a co-op game and doesn't want to challenge, like a really in-depth, like, mental challenge.
Yeah, like you would play this after the bar. You might not want to play something heavier.
Yeah, exactly. So if we get together and we say, hey, let's play Thanos Rising, I know it's going to be a pretty short game. If we just play one, I'm fine with that. But it's not the game that I'm going to say I want to play. I'd much rather play Terraforming Mars or a big epic space game.
Right.
But it's a fun game, and I'd recommend it if that's what you're into.
Mm-hmm. You guys know I'm a huge theme guy, so if you want a game that has lots of theme, this is definitely one for you guys to pick up. And I just like dice chucking, even though for some reason I can't roll anything I ever need. It's just a fun habit. All right, so guys, thank you so much for talking about Thanos Rising, and for you guys watching at home, we are going to hit some of the heavier games. And then, as full disclaimer, big thanks to USAopoly for actually sending us a review copy of this, but they didn't pay it. It's not a sponsored video, so 100% thoughts are our own, and you guys heard some of our criticisms too, so big thanks to them. And if you guys have suggestions for games to talk about, or if you want to talk more about these games, leave them in the comments for the video below, or shoot us an email, theplaythru@ktdata.net, and check out theplaythru.net for all our past episodes and other cool stuff. So, all right, guys, I will talk to you all later.